And welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rod with your girl Charmaine, and this is the relationship party where it is what it is.
Not what it's supposed to be.
And man, we got one for you this week. We're gonna be all over the place. We're gonna be talking about some stuff, but we got our distinguished panel right here with us. Want everybody to introduce themselves before we get this thing kicked off, and we'll start.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Troy Vaughn, affectionately known as Trey Amazing. I am the CEO and creator of Ringside LLC. I am the dating commentator of Atlanta, and I am happy and pleased to be here.
Dating commentator. All right.
My name is Mark Clark, aka Marco B. Moore, Chef Marco B. Moore from Baltimore, Maryland, proud Ravens fan, and owner and CEO of the Sexy Chefy franchise.
Sexy Chefy. Yeah.
Hey y'all, my name is Nolana Carthen Simon, licensed professional counselor with Parasoft Counseling Services.
No sexy, nothing add to that.
Do marriage and family therapy.
All right. Well, y'all, we want to welcome y'all to the show. Today, we just kind of doing some potluck. There's been some things going on. And when I say some things going on, so I wanted to get y'all takes on a couple of things. From the men to the women, then let's just see where we go. How do y'all feel about prenups?
Again, as a divorced person, and I'm fortunate enough to where, my ex-wife and I, we didn't have children. So our divorce was like driving through a drive-through at McDonald's, very quick, whatever.
You know which McDonald's you go to, though.
Well, the one in the hood.
Some of them horrible.
But
one on Salem Road, you might be there for a while.
right. For us, I mean, I can understand you ask different people. Some people say marriage is a business. Other people disagree. So it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it as a business, I don't think there's anything wrong with treating it as a business and laying out your contract, black and white, plain language. Everyone signs like in the event of a divorce, because I know a prenuptial agreement is not always romantic, but neither is having a fire extinguisher in my home. I have it there just in case. I hope I don't have a fire.
Right.
I pray my home doesn't catch fire, but if it does, we're going to be safe because I have a fire extinguisher. I hope this marriage doesn't end in divorce, but if it does, this is what I get. This is what you get.
And we're good to go.
We're good to go.
Expectations
Yes.
set.
What about you, Lana? How do you feel?
I mean, I think it really depends. I am more that has more kind of maybe traditional values when it comes to marriage. And I didn't have money or that sort
Right.
of thing. So the idea about protecting what I have is not maybe as prevalent as it would be for someone who has a lot of assets. So I do get it, but I just really believe in the idea of what we create together at least
Right.
is ours together to
Right.
split. But if one person comes in with significantly more assets and there's a lot to lose, that there's a higher risk that they're taking, I think there's nothing harmful about it. I think if you're really loving each other, you're not planning to fail, right? And so to me, it's just a formality. I would sign it if someone wanted me
Me too. I would sign it. I'm trying to figure out some of you young athletes, you better get it. If you were my child, you would have a prenup before you get married. And if she don't like it, guess what?
Because I
Well, he
think
don't
these
like
people are
it.
being ridiculous nowadays. Like y'all seen a whole bunch of stuff in the news lately, right? With people getting divorced and basically being taken to the cleaner, so to speak, from these short marriages. Even.
If-
They didn't protect themselves. I don't know.
I got to be political. No, I ain't gonna be politically correct. I'm from Baltimore.
Okay.
If I get number one, if you ain't got nothing, what you getting a prenup for?
Right, exactly.
If you broke, you don't need a prenup because half a broke is still broke.
Right.
If
Broke,
if
more
we
broke.
acquire things together, then that's what we can split. But if I had something coming into the marriage and you want half of what I already had, I got an issue with that.
Well, hold on. What about when it's not what you had? What about when it's what you acquired within the marriage?
That's what I'm saying.
let's just say-
When you acquire something together, then that's a whole different animal.
No. When I'm dribbling the ball,
Mm-hmm.
we ain't acquire that together because you don't dribble.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Right. So if I get up in the morning at 7:00, and I'm a woman saying this, but it's a man, and I'm practicing, I'm Michael Jordan, I'm hitting the game shots.
Then you need that prenup. So,
But you already married.
for the simple fact that but the thing with that is this: if I'm quote unquote LeBron James, I'm coming out of high school going to the pros, and I got my wife that I've been in high school with and all of that. Yeah, I know I'm going to the pros.
Right.
She know I'm going to the pros. We got to have a prenup.
Right.
Because at some point I know, I mean, I know I'm gonna be worth $1 billion, but I know I'm gonna be worth a substantial amount of money. So it's protection for me not having to give you 500 million
Well, right.
of
Now,
my
now
billion.
my thing is, so we know that you should protect yourself, but if you were the other side, would you sign it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'll just say this. I'm being truthful, but there's a shade of comic. A gentleman in my group by the name of Brian, he always says, women in marriage, they don't want to go 50-50 in marriage, but come divorce, or they're going to want half.
As-
I
Right.
would say definitely if you're coming into this marriage, one person coming into the marriage with Louis Vuitton luggage, the other person coming with garbage bags, you need to be signing a prenuptial agreement because, again, it is I think at that level, you do need to protect yourself because fact of the matter is, I mean, we do live in a very open, transparent, explicit society where we see there are people out there who are literally becoming rich just marrying the right
The right
person.
person.
They're,
Absolutely.
they're coming into the marriage or the relationship, no class, no nothing, ashy knees, chapped lips,
Not
everything.
ashy
They
knees.
married the right person,
You
and
shouldn't have been getting
boom,
married anyway.
right. They married the
Some
right
lotion
person,
first.
and boom, they got a reality show.
And I think people should get something. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be fair. So prenup doesn't mean you don't get anything. It just means we're not getting ready to do half
Right.
when I did all of the work.
Right. Let me look in the camera and say this. Ladies, I am a thousandaire and I believe the words have power. I speak into existence that I want to marry a woman who's a millionaire, so I have no problem signing the prenup. Just want to put that out there.
And Oprah, if you're listening, I will get divorced and marry you, but I still have to take care of my significant other.
Rodney, when you
That's
make
my one
Oh,
of 3
man.
passes
and
I
when you
got.
make that deal happen, can you throw Gail my way? Thank you, brother.
Yeah, she's in the prenup.
Thank you.
Let me have one of the rooms. I'll take the smallest room in the mansion. Just let me have one room. Somebody also, if you, again, everyone is different. If you are someone that views marriage as a business, talking to the people, if you view marriage as a business, one gentleman said to me, if you view it as a business, then you should only marry a woman who has just as much to lose in a divorce as you.
Right.
And that's something that some men follow, not all men do. But he was very specific. If we get a divorce, it's gonna hurt her just as much as it's gonna hurt me. And he's like, if you're coming as a man, if you're coming into the marriage with that much money, that much assets, you do need to have a prenuptial, something airtight. If you're coming into a marriage with a woman who's got, run over shoes
Right,
and
right, right,
garbage
right.
bags.
Now,
Because how is it fair that in Jeff Bezos' situation when he got divorced, how much did she get? She got a few billion.
Let him a boatload of money.
How is it fair that just because we were married, and even if we were married for 20 years, did you get $1 billion?
what the other thing is this? He's so smart. So her getting that billion, either she really was doing something that we don't know about, because sometimes women contribute just because their name is not on it,
That was the part I was
or
gonna
something.
say.
Because he's too smart to, you know what I'm saying, not have those things. So there was something, right? Or so there was something they agreed upon at some point. So it's just that, and he like, okay, she worth it because she brought some stuff to the table for sure.
I mean, there are other aspects of contribution that a spouse can play in terms of you being able to get or do what you
Right.
do.
It's just not half
So
though.
yeah, I agree. It's not half. I
It
agree.
ain't
But
half
what
though.
about Alan? What about regular people though, guys? I mean,
Right.
I see regular folks. I don't see celebrities in my practice too much.
Right.
But if you would like to, you can come see me.
But let me ask
Your
you, because
thoughts?
that's a good one about child support. Because what I find about child support,
I ain't paying.
this is my thing, and I'm not saying right or wrong or what side I'm on. I'm just gonna say the unfortunate part that I see about child support is that the person who's not there, right, has to now pay a substantial amount. Not saying that the other person isn't owed because they do have the child. But how easy is that then to now maintain the life, not even lifestyle, because we ain't talking about rich people. We just talking about regular folk. Now you gotta pay your own bills with maybe the new person. I know the other person said that ain't my business. I know. I'm just saying. And still you gotta pay $700-800 over here, and you just a regular working person. Where does it lend to this person still being stable enough as your children's parent to really be a decent parent when they can't even survive? I know they're saying that's not their
It's
fault.
tough because I worked with a guy years and years ago, and he went through a divorce, and he had to pay an obscene amount of child support. Regular guy, right? To the point where he lost his apartment and he lost his car because he couldn't afford to pay that and give the child support.
Right?
So how do you put a man? And typically it's the man that's gets put in that kind of situation. So how is that fair? So now I can't live. Period. Not just
Right.
maintain my lifestyle. Now I don't even have a lifestyle because I don't have anywhere to stay. So it gets to be a situation where when is enough enough?
Yeah.
Does a kid need to have my whole check where I can't even
And it's double
stay
sided.
in my
Right.
house?
And it's double sided.
Even if I cheated.
Well, it's not even about cheating
no.
because child support, you don't even have to be
No,
married.
but in some instances, again, it's a lot of divorced guys out here that when you talk to them, they admit that they did cheat, and that was part of the penance was because you cheated, we giving her X amount more.
Punitive. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, you got some 35-year-old men out here sleeping in race car beds now because they're paying
Yeah.
900, 1,000, 1,200 a month, for the children to have, expensive clothes. Because fact of the matter is, what was that joke Ari Spears said? Look, Sally Struthers taught us in the 80s, it only took 15 cents a day to support a starving child in Africa. But today I got to pay 1,500 a month so the baby can have the new Jordans and Ralph Lauren and whatever Tom Ford, whatever the case may be. There are men
There's
who
a
are.
standard formula,
It's a
right?
standard.
There's a standard formula from a legal perspective that
Mhm.
should be done. Not all people are kind of, I guess, adhering to those
Right.
things or seeking out those things. A lot of people have verbal agreements or they've done it outside of the court, which actually advocate.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Particularly for African American families, because there is a punitive
Right.
subtlety to it that is discouraging. And so if you can work it out and have like even a mediator
Right.
or a licensed professional counselor, you can work it out. And as long as there's witness and notary, a notary that signs it, you both agree, you can work it outside of the court. But you have to have reasonable expectations about what is actually the cost of supporting that child.
Well, let me just say this too. And that is why marriage is so important.
Mhm.
I'm not saying stay when you're unhappy. I'm just saying the reason why, because
It's
when you
supposed to be
have
hard to
kids,
break
right,
up.
exactly. Because when you have kids and all of that, it's hard, right?
Cheaper to keep her. Ain't that what that song
Cheaper
says?
to
Cheaper to
keep
keep
her.
her.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Right? So it's easier to work together when you can. And then it's just very unfair. But I'm not saying that the men should pay less because, of course, the mom have them all the time. They're spending all this other kind of money. It's not a lot for regular folk in the narrative, even if you're paying 1,500 and you got 3 kids. You know what I'm saying?
But people
So
aren't thinking about that in a very practical way. When they're getting divorced, there's a huge emotional piece there
Right.
that doesn't really have them thinking in a practical way about how is this going to impact me financially if I decide to leave this relationship. If I decide, because there are people refusing to go to counseling, like because you're in your emotion,
Mhm.
or you want that other person.
that
So
hurt
again,
because they hurt
emotion.
you. You
I
want to
mean,
hurt
they
them.
want
Yeah.
the other relationship instead of trying to figure out how to fix this one.
Mhm.
And that's based on fantasy.
I wanted
A
to
lot of
say
times.
this as far as the child support. I'm 50-50 or as far as my views on it. I believe that in certain cases, if the man is not doing anything that he should be as a man and as a father to support a child that he made. By all means, child support is needed for that.
Right.
My concern is when a woman knows that her and that man may no longer be together, they're co-parenting, he is a good father and he is
Mhm.
a provider for his child. But because you have a personal issue with him that has nothing to do with him taking care of his child,
Right.
you then decide, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm putting you on child support. So child support is needed in certain cases. And I know, like for me, I went through a situation where my issue was based off of my income, I was awarded to have to pay a certain amount. But during that time, my don't want to mention
Right.
specifics, but got paperwork that they went in my home where I allowed them to be in my home and found other documents of some investment properties, finances of what I made from throwing events and parties in Baltimore. And once they presented all that, that took my child
Mhm.
support from one number and kicked it up to a whole nother number. And my concern was, how can my child support be based off of this long term when these were one time financial
Right.
situations? So
Valid
that was the
point.
issue for me. And then the other thing that I have a problem with, it's easy for a man to be put on child support. And I know this
Oh,
firsthand. Let us try to get a reduction because we may have made a certain amount
right.
and now we're no longer at that job and may have to take a pay cut. I know men that were paying child support faithfully may have become incarcerated for whatever reasons, and that payment doesn't stop. It adds on in the arrears and arrears. And the system, I believe personally,
Oh yeah.
as much as it's just on certain situations overall across the board, child support has not been revamped or nothing has been done to bring it up to code and up to speed. And I know a lot of women that even speak on, against child support because they know firsthand that they may have girlfriends
Right.
that'll put a man on child support for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
So if it's done for the right reasons, no
Right.
problem with it. But if your motive is just to say, I'm going to put you on paper now and I'm going to have the courts all in our business, I don't subscribe to that to any
Right.
Right.
degree.
Right.
And so we want to say that don't make the decisions based on emotion
Right.
because you mad. Because you still have to remember this is your child's parent
That part. Exactly.
and their well being is going to filter over to their well being at some point, some kind of way. And in saying that, let's then talk about people who decide they don't want to let the other parent see their child.
I
Mm.
wish I would.
It's
Uh,
it's it's real out there.
it's definitely real. Again, you're harboring those emotions, and most of the time, it's the woman not letting the father see the parent. I mean, see the child, for whatever the reason. No, you ain't gonna have my child over there with that you messing with now. You know, you have to get over that because again, you're gonna want something from this man, i.e., child support. So if you want that child support from him, and he's a willing father to want to be in his child's life, don't stop that. But men, what I will say is this: do not give her that power. If y'all aren't together, go to court and fight for your kid.
Exactly.
Period. That way you take that part, that emotion, you take it out of it. The court said, hey, I get 50, I get visitation, 50-50. You know what I mean? We
Goes
always talk
back to
about that
Adam
50-50.
when we talk about don't just throw your hands
Right.
up and fall
Right.
back. Talking about ain't nobody even got time for that.
Fight
Have
for your
time for your
kid.
children.
Fight for your
Absolutely.
kid because they're worth it. Number one, my oldest daughter, when she was younger, my then girlfriend, her mother stayed with her mom. Now I brought my daughter out of the womb literally and been in her life till this day. And she would have never taken me downtown to put me on paper. She was forced to by her mother.
Mhm.
She was living with her mother. Her mother said, if you're gonna stay here, you're gonna da 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 because she wanted that money. You know what I mean? I never paid child support. Even though I was supposed to, but I wasn't gonna do it because my daughter was with me 90% of the time.
Right.
Why am I gonna pay you child support and she with me 90% of the time?
I have a situation. Have a child, mother and I no longer together. Move on, meet another woman, wind up marrying this woman, but never married the mother of my child. Paying child support, we've already gone through that. My concern, I no longer live in the city and state where my child and my child's mother reside. And on top of that, I'm now in a new relationship, and the relationship has evolved to marriage. Being told, if you want to see your child, you will have to come to Baltimore where we are for you to see your child. But what I'm not doing is sending my child to you and your new wife so that they can be around someone else who is not their mother. So if you want to see your child, you need to make arrangements to come here. And I know a lot of men that are in those situations. And because I have moved on, it should not be a concern of who I'm now with. And you're going to penalize me because I chose not to be with you and I've moved on and found someone else. And a lot of men go through that situation. And I'm going to be honest. I fought a good fight, y'all, but after a while, I just got tired.
A lot of men do.
It broke
Yeah,
me,
Yeah.
most men do, but the one I could never, and nothing,
and I
nothing
didn't
wrong.
stop.
No,
But
no,
like I
right,
said,
right.
it broke me.
And that's what I could never. If I was in that situation, fortunately, I didn't have to go through that. You know, but if I was in that situation, I would. Oh my God, it would be ugly. It would get ugly.
But let me just say this. I know.
You know, and I know,
And I hear a lot of men
it would
say
get
that
ugly.
because
It would get ugly.
in a minute, it becomes such a frustrating, overwhelming. Nobody seems to be on my side. We know going through court and having to deal with attorneys and all of that kind of stuff. All of that is a lot. That's not what we normally
Emotionally
have to do.
draining.
Right.
And so sometimes, and I'm glad that you said this because, and I'm making it right, but that's why some men just fall back and almost bury it,
Mm-hmm. Oh
including
yeah.
the child.
And I want to say this. This was one of my concerns. As much as it broke me, anybody that knows me, I have two children, 120, 135, two different women, two periods of my life. No matter what I've gone through with both of them, you will never, ever hear me say anything negative,
Right.
hurtful, or disrespectful about these women because no matter what they put me through, they have still given me the best gift that life could ever give me, which was my son and my daughter. So to have that blessing, but at the same time, to deal with that fight. And my thing is, I didn't want to fight but so much because I'm fighting against my son's mother or my daughter's mother.
Right.
And these are their mothers who they look up to and love. So I'm placed in a delicate position. Do I go hard? Do I do whatever I got to do to win? Or at what point do I say, because I love my children so much, I don't want to put that on their mother because hurting their mother to a certain degree is also hurting them. And that was my problem. That was my problem.
Well, the truth will come out, but that's a lot of the trauma, and that's why folks need to really be willing to do that self reflection that we talked about on another episode of
Right.
what is going on with you. Why would you, if you have, as a person you've had growing up, you want your child.
You might want to pause.
And I think we just need to think about the self-reflection and the individual work that needs to be done. A lot of folks are getting in relationships, and then when it doesn't work out, then they're working out this trauma with this other person. So the drama and the trauma is about your pain, and so you're making other people suffer, particularly the child, right?
That part.
Why would you, if you have, as a person, you want relationship with both your parents, provided that they're decent people, right? Why would you withhold that from your own child? There's something
Mhm.
there's something wrong with you
Because you're trying to
if
be in
you
control.
withhold. But that's
Mhm.
that's
Right.
fear.
Right.
You're fearing this new woman in the relationship, and
That's all it
Oh,
is.
you just you don't even fear. You just mad because they done moved on.
angry,
Mm.
hurtful. But
And see-
again, anger is
Yeah.
also something that you need to work through.
And see,
I've heard
Chef,
that before. I've heard what you just said in terms of some women get upset that the man has moved on, sometimes moved on quickly and like, okay, now he's happy with a new woman and the woman, and I'm just saying this example, could still be alone or single. She's a custodial parent. Now she has to date and tell men, hey, I have a child. Some men are okay with that, some men are not. But even though this isn't my experience, I don't have children. I've over 10 years of, dealing with men and women in the group who talk about child support. It really does seem like child support has been weaponized severely.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
okay, you hear the name child support. So naturally, I think, okay, this is additional money to support a child, not realizing that's not always the case.
Right.
Not realizing sometimes it really is to just punish the person for not
Right.
being what, the other person wanted them to be, or punishing them because they moved on, or punishing them because they cheated or
And control,
something,
because I get
and
some people,
control.
if they're your children, but why do you get the control? So some women will be like, huh, I had a girlfriend and I definitely some emotional trauma. Um, he gave the daughter money. Like he took her out, gave her money. She went livid about if he gonna give her, he need to come and give it to me. Why would he give it to her? I mean, just and I was like, are you serious? Why do he bought her a TV? She threw the TV away because she wanted him to do it the way she wanted him to do it.
Mm.
And what I need y'all to understand is when you're not together, the relationship is between the child and the parent, not you. Get your little self on up out the way, ma'am, or sir, unless there's being some harm rendered. That's one thing. And like you said, Lana, you have to remember it's just more love to go around. Why wouldn't you want your child to have more love? Get yourself out the way, go get yourself together, go play with somebody else, and let your kid have the relationship. Because do you know what it's like to go to school and everybody's showing up or the dad show up, but your dad don't show up?
And
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 not
that's
because he don't want to,
right.
because he's not allowed to. What kind of
And
foolishness?
I'm glad you
Foolishness.
said that, Charmaine, because to your point, Mark, when you was talking about how, you know, you kind of backed off because it was hurting the child and this, that, and the third. It was hurting the child, but it was also hurting you and your relationship with that child. Because just like they just said, that child goes to school now, and when all the fathers are in the room, you're not there. Now they wondering, oh, my daddy don't love me. Because trust me,
That's the
that woman
narrative
is
that's
not
been
going to
pushed.
say, well, your dad would love to be here, but no, she gonna talk down to you. That's why in that scenario you were pushing, and I understand why you backed off. That's why I would have fought even harder. Because again, I cannot let this woman put this rift between me and my child. Is it going to sting right now? Yeah. But I'd rather for it to sting for 6 months as opposed to it stinging for the rest of our
Yeah,
lives
but
and our
sometimes it ain't six
relationship.
months. It's
Right.
a lot
Sometimes it's
longer than
years.
that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
whatever it is, I still have to.
Right.
I got to go to.
Right.
I'm
That's fine.
saying me. I'm
We
not
get
saying he handled it wrong,
right.
but I'm just saying for me, I would still, if it took 6 months or 6 years, because I know that mother's never going to say anything positive because she's in her feelings. Because you and I are married now, we got our own life.
Right.
And let me say this, Ronnie, because like I said, funny, I'm actually getting a little emotional over this, just thinking about what I went through, because this is a difficult topic for me. And I think one of the things that affected me going through this, because I went through it once with my daughter, and then
Again.
was very open with my son's mother. This is what I went through, and I want to do all the right things with you in co-parenting, so I don't have to go through this. And because I gave her the blueprint of what happened before, she literally used that for me to go through this all over again. And my biggest issue is, and I'm just speaking as a man, if we're going to be honest with this
Yes.
podcast
Yes.
as we are, my biggest concern is nobody cared. And
Right.
because I was a man,
Right.
suck it up.
Right.
So what? Deal with it.
Or just keep
But we
just keep
but
fighting.
when the
Like,
woman is going through a thing where it's the man and the woman, I mean, going to child support court, and not just my case, hearing other cases,
Right.
it's so unbiased because when the woman comes in there, it's almost like she's a victim and we're here to give support. But when a man is in a situation and he's fighting, like I said,
right.
it was just tough, dog.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
It was
there's not
tough.
support out there. There's not enough support. And
Right.
it's starting to change. There are
Right.
programs out there like, like father's rights programs,
Right.
but many people don't know about those options. So
Right.
I'm sorry
Uh,
you had to go through that because
Yeah.
it happens far too frequently.
Yeah.
And just before we go to break, this is what, because we know there's a lot of men who feel the same way, right? Who going through stuff. So whether you the guy that's going through it or the woman who think that the man just don't have feelings and you putting them through it because you think you hurt them, but you really don't know how you hurt them. Thank you for being so transparent.
I get them for you. I got. So with that being the case, y'all, we gonna go to a quick commercial break. We gonna get ourselves together because I'm ready to punch somebody in the face for my man for Chef. But we gonna
Indeed.
leave that alone. But y'all, we'll be right back in a minute. This is a relationship party with Rod and Charmaine.
I'm going Rodney, not you.
You always want to do something what I supposed to be doing.
Well,
See, man, we can't have nothing.
okay, I'm gonna sit
Every
back.
show.
I'm gonna sit
No. I'm not putting it out there in the world, America. Every show, I open up, I come back from break. What do this one want to do? She want to take the shine that the man get and want to take it for herself. You see how they do us?
I ain't
See how
got,
they
no,
do
I
us?
was
I ain't
trying
got
to
nothing
work
to do
with-
with this.
Gee, Mo Nitty. America, as we say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome back. This is a relationship show, relationship party with Rod and Charmaine. We welcome y'all back, guys. We're having a very good discussion about several different topics. And when we left, things got a little emotional because we was talking about, that child support and seeing your kids and things of that nature. So, guys, we keep it real on this show. Is where it is what it is.
Not what it's supposed to be.
And that's exactly what happened on the last segment. So coming back, Charmaine, now you can interject.
Because you don't have no questions.
Oh, I
do
got
you?
a question. I ain't got a problem with questions.
No, but that was really good. And again, but let me throw this one out there though. So because we're talking about parenting, have any of you ever dated someone with mommy or daddy issues?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Really? Okay, please share.
I mean, years ago, I noticed like to date a woman who had abandonment issues because of her father leaving, and that caused constraints on the relationship in terms of, she was always throwing out there, I have abandonment issues. I don't like when, I can't handle the idea of you leaving or things
Wow.
like that. And I know I got to a point in this relationship where there were instances where, there was friction, there was arguments, and I want to leave, but she made it was the manipulation was like, okay, if I leave the relationship, like genuinely break up because we're just not getting along, she's going to accuse me of abandoning her because she's already dealing with abandonment issues. And it's like me letting her know, like, look, I don't have anything. This is an isolated incident. I just need to break up with you because we're just not getting along. We're not on the same wavelength. In terms of your abandonment issues, these are things that I would tell anybody you need to, before entering into a relationship or even marriage, make a detour, go talk to a counselor, i.e., therapist, handle that, address that, then find yourself docked into a relationship then because it's going to transition and spill over into someone that has nothing to do with it. And I definitely had to deal with that.
Well, I love that because at least she knew she had it. Now she needed to learn how to deal with it.
Absolutely. Process.
And so many people have those kind of issues. I'm gonna let you go, Chef, because then I want to talk about one because that was a good one.
All right, mine is just kind of, I'm gonna switch it up just a tiny bit. Not necessarily daddy issues. I've run across women in my past where I called the baby boy dilemma, the movie Baby Boy.
Right. Mhm.
Where I have dealt with women who've had either teenage or even 20 and 30-year-old sons,
Ooh.
where in wanting to date them, it was very clear. I'm trying to be your man, but the reality is your son is the man in your relationship. And I've even told a couple of women that's really your part-time husband, where it's supposed to be about us. And like I said, we ain't talking a little child.
Right.
We talking about ones that can really get out the house, have their own, provide for themselves, still living under mama's roof. And I'm seeing you baby a grown man. And because I'm supposed to really care about you, and if I do, I can't sit here and keep quiet. I got to tell you, look, you're doing too much for a grown man. And it bothers me because I'm trying to be your man.
Right.
And the reality is, you can't be with both of us. And I understand that's your child, but I'm your man. So at some point, I'm not asking you to choose your son over me,
Right.
but that's your son. And you can't be treating him like a husband, but that's not the role. So that's the issue that I've run up on
Yeah.
in previous dating situations. So a lot of y'all women out there, I'm letting y'all know, ain't nothing wrong with being a good mother to your son. But if you got a grown child and male in your house and you dealing with a man also, you gotta make some decisions. Because for me, if you gonna fix your grown child a plate, but can't fix me a plate,
And you're
I
creating,
ain't the man you need
and
to be
with that
dealing
too,
with.
you're creating a monster in your
Well,
son.
that was my whole issue.
We're gonna go to that. Don't go there yet because that's a whole nother. We're gonna switch that back around. That's a good one. Oh man, you hit something. So you had the abandonment issues, and the
The
reason
woman I
why
dated had I ain't. I'm
no,
good. I'm good. Look, my dad's still here. I'm good.
but you can't because sometimes people are really dealing with they think their past doesn't matter,
It definitely
and your
matters.
past
Oh,
definitely
it
is
matters.
impacting right
The
your
first
present.
session I have after intake is I do a family genogram. So I'm talking about your family history, paternal and maternal, and then I'm doing relationship history.
Mm.
They have to do a timeline about their relationships because whether you like it or not, you're taking some things into it. So there's residue, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you haven't reflected on that, really thought about that, I get them all the time. I didn't realize, like, oh, I didn't remember that, and oh, that might be why. So the light bulbs start coming on.
You start dipping into their psyche and
Absolutely.
certain.
Mhm.
So
I
you
I
need
think.
to address your family history and your relationship
Mhm.
history prior to getting into a relationship, a
Right.
serious one anyway.
And that's why we say therapy isn't because you had this major problem that you have mental illness.
Right, you don't have to have a diagnosis to go to therapy.
Sometimes
But
you
it
just want to
helps.
work some things out mentally so you can get in the best place possible for yourself
Right.
first.
Absolutely.
But then you can take a good version of yourself and put it into a relationship. And I'm going to be honest, and you give me your thoughts on this. And I want y'all to think about this because as much as you love your children, I'm never saying stay in a bad relationship. But what you do, the decisions you make, do affect your children. Even though you're in it making decisions for yourself, because when dad don't show up because you don't want to let the kids see the dad, your daughter
Mhm.
has abandonment issues. As a father, when you say you're going to show up and you keep not showing up,
Mhm.
you're giving her issues and him because there's some things that you just take with you along the way. So we want people to be
Mhm.
clear about that. Like, know the things that you deposit in because I hear people say, that's my seed. Okay, well, treat your seed a little bit better.
Yeah, water your seed.
Yeah,
Put some water on your
yeah,
seed.
water that sucker and water it
Mhm.
right as best you can. Because I know we still be lifing.
Mhm.
We be trying to figure it out too. But there's some things we want to try to avoid.
I think we have to be honest with our children too. Be real transparent about the mistakes you make. I've had
Right.
to apologize to my kids. I actually
Yes.
believe in apologizing to your children.
I never
Therapy.
had. I wish I had something like that.
Yeah.
What was it called? Your family genogram?
Genogram, right?
Genogram.
So you're looking at your family history, who's who, and you can see patterns of things like that.
I'm definitely a direct reflection of that. I've had that conversation with, my girlfriend now. There are certain things now that, I'm older. There are certain things that I do. I'm just like, exactly what my dad does. I'm like, I'm turning to my dad. Or certain instances, I'm like, my mom is exactly like this. I'm doing things exactly how my mom did. And just even now in my current relationship, even when I was married, there are certain things that I took from my parents. My parents are still together after 57 years, you know,
Yes.
but I also remember like there's certain things I was like, I don't want what I see my father and my mother do. I
Right.
don't want to
There's no
transfer
perfect
over.
marriage either, right? And what
Right.
they did may not work for you too.
Right. But then,
Right.
but I also realized like, okay, either subconsciously or genetics, what do you want to call it, is like, okay, there are certain things I'm doing that are very much reminiscent of what I witnessed
Right.
with my dad or even
And
with
I
my
think
mom.
some people who've seen marriage for a long time have a better skew of it or definitely want it. I give Rodney props all the time. The reason why we've been married for going on 25 years is because his parents.
It's not going on 25 years. It's past. It's going on 26. Correct. Continue.
No,
Don't
it's not.
take that
But go
year
ahead.
off
It's
there.
not. Because we got married in 99. Next year it'll be 25 years. We having our vow
That's what I
renewal.
said.
Mhm.
I had nothing to do with it.
Right. Yeah, so as we were saying.
But no, seriously, it's because he watched his parents and a lot of people in his family are married.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I didn't see that. So I was a runner. It don't feel good. I'm going. See you, bye bye.
Absolutely.
He
It
has that stick to
matters.
it. Yes.
The examples you have matters. My parents weren't married when they conceived me or my sister. And so I saw a relationship here and there. It was broken pieces of relationship. So when I got married the first time, and his parents divorced when they were young, when he was young. So by the time we get to year 12 and 14, we were like, "Man, we
Mhm.
did it. We had come,"
Right.
and we did to some degree.
Right.
Each generation, I believe, should get better, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So we did something that neither one of our parents were able to do. But we divorced after 16 and a half years, but we co-parent well
Awesome.
because one, we were Christians first, but two, we were determined not to, or at least to try to buffer some of the impact of divorce on our children, right? So that's the part I said we had to apologize. I had to apologize to my children. We didn't get everything right,
Right.
Mm.
right? But here's what I want you to know from this. And here's what I want my children to see examples of healthy love. And so when I see it or I'm acting it out now, I'm pointing that out,
Mm.
right? And teaching them about their boundaries, about communication, about not letting their own history repeat,
Mm.
right? What are you going to learn from the mistakes? I think that's the important part. And if you can articulate that to your children, they're going to be better for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know, in watching my mother and father and aunts and uncles and all, because I do have divorce in the family. But my main direct reflection of marriage was my mother and father because I interacted with them every day. And it wasn't always peaches and cream, but what I took from that was, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. My mother didn't like this when my father did it, so let me try not to da 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 da. My father was a great guy, but when he talked to you, he was a yeller.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
That's a Baltimore thing.
And it wasn't him yelling at you, belittling. It was he just talked loud. He
loud.
got in your face, spitting all in you, did it, and uh, so I said that's not going to be me.
Mhm.
I can be loud, but I don't do that with
Mhm.
her. Number one, because I know that's one of her triggers,
Mhm.
and I never asked her this, but when things get loud and things happen, she runs, and I don't even know if that was a reflection of her parents or what that was. I never even asked her. It just hit me as I was talking because when my father used to get loud, she used to get a little whatever. Or
Yeah,
when
because that dictates is about to be violence to me. You being
Right.
loud because you
Yeah.
can't be in my face and keep being loud. Somebody ready to start swinging.
Yeah,
So
check it. And I didn't grow up with my father in my home, although he was a part of my life. Um, and I had a good relationship when I was present with him. I felt heard and seen, if you will. But I didn't know what anger looked like for a guy, for a man. Right. So when that occurred in my relationship, my first marriage, I was ready to, I'm checking deuces like, oh no, because I think it means
right.
something's about to blow up and get crazy or something. So that's the thing I'd say, anger doesn't always equal violence, right?
Right.
And being able to trust and talk through things and understand when anger is the correct emotion to have and not being fearful of it.
Right.
So
I want to
it's not
flip the
always
script a little bit, talking about parents being raised. Because I know I represent with this topic a lot of people out here. I have my biological dad, and then I hate the word stepfather.
bonus.
My bonus. Well, that's what he was.
That's
My
what I
bonus
use.
dad. My bonus dad and my mom got together when I was 3, and if I'm correct, got married when I was 5. They are still together now, 51 years of marriage. So I was fortunate
Woo.
to be able to see a structured foundation of husband and wife. And growing up, I also have a younger brother who is 9 years younger than me. And I will admit, as much as my stepdad, bonus dad, well, my dad, let's just call it what it is,
Right.
my dad, we had a good relationship, but I definitely saw dynamics change once my brother was born and how he treated his natural biological son versus how he treated, because my father legally adopted me when him and my mom married, where there was just a difference. And it caused some strife here and there. But
Right.
now being a grown man and looking at what he did, I just want to say for any stepmom or stepdad out there, I salute you, and dad, I love you unconditionally, because to step in and to take care of somebody else's child and to love them as your own and to embrace them as your own, it's not a hard job to do.
Commendable.
And like I said, there were times where I really had issues with my dad, because especially like I said, my younger brother did not get the harsh treatments that I got. I knew growing up when my mom and dad got into an argument or issue, and once again, Rodney, it's a Baltimore thing. We're loud. We are loud talking people. So me and my brother would hear the arguments. Didn't phase my brother at all.
Right.
But I knew, oh, they just got into an argument. At some point, he gonna
How's it gonna
jump on
impact
my
me?
ass,
Yeah.
because how I'm raising somebody else's child, and you want to treat me a certain type of way. And not that he was abusive or anything,
Right.
but it was more mental and psychological things that he did to me.
Yeah.
And I resented him to the point that I even hated him at various points. But like I said, at 56 years old now, just seeing what he had to deal with, Dad, you the best.
Well, you know what? That goes to, but most kids, whether you biological or not, they don't usually like each other. Right at 16, 17.
And I like, and I'm gonna ask the question because I don't know for sure, but because I had to, and again, I never called my step, but there were kids that they weren't mine coming into the relationship. But I'd like to think, and I'm gonna ask the question because one of them is here. He's actually one of our producers. If I treated all of them the same, as far as mine versus the step. Quote, I hate saying that word. That just do something to me. But Derek, if you can just shout out, do you feel like I treated all of y'all the same as I did Raquel? Okay.
He said yes.
Because he was
Yes.
an asshole.
But I was an equal opportunity
You
asshole.
was. You was.
You know,
You was.
As long as you're
You was.
consistent.
Oh yeah.
You
As long as you're
was.
consistent.
Equal
I
opportunity.
tell people to this day, Derek's him and Raquel the oldest. I never, ever, ever said in public, unless I'm on a panel like this, when they asking, when people ask me how many kids you got, I tell them 6. I got 2 biological and 4 that ain't mine biologically.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
I always say I have 6 kids, period, point blank. Never use step. And I've always tried to treat them the same, as I treated the biological, because I didn't want them to feel like I was showing favoritism.
Sure. Now
Right.
that can be
Because
touchy though, Nick, depending on when you came into their lives too.
they were Derek and Raquel were both 10 when they moved down here. So it was probably a year before that. So they were probably about 9 when I came into their life.
And they be looking at the mama, and we're gonna have a show on at the Balloon Fair because they was looking at me like, "You gonna let this man tell us what to do?" And you kind of get caught in the catch-22 because it is a newer person. Y'all had the relationship. They kind of looking like
It's different dynamics for sure.
it is. It is
Did
not.
you ever hear that you ain't my daddy?
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
My daddy.
I've heard, and a couple times it pissed me off, but I knew they were too young to realize what they were saying, because for me, I am your daddy. Now, see, I didn't carry it like that when we were in Baltimore, but when they moved down here, the responsibility factor changed because I took them from where they were comfortable. I took them from their family, from their grandmother, and their whole and they came down here. So now it's my responsibility. Now that even before we got married, they were my kids. Even though we weren't married, they were mine because I displaced them and brought them here to me.
Right.
So if I'm going to do that, I have to now. I got to be responsible.
And
I can't just be like, I'm just with the mother.
Right.
Fuck these kids.
Right.
It's not like that.
Right.
You know, for me, it was always about making sure.
That was a mindset, though. That was
Yeah.
a decision, intentional decision.
No doubt.
But
No
y'all,
doubt.
let me do this real quick because we're gonna have to wrap up in just a second. But I wanted to go back and touch on something that you said. You talked about the mothers who coddle the boys way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about both sides of that because it's hurting our children in their next age of relationships. Because he's being coddled so much. He's been given so much by mom. A lot of times he doesn't know how to fend for himself.
Mhm.
Or he's used to a female energy doing it, the person he respects the most. So then he looking at her like, well, what's your problem? Because he haven't seen, right? So it's almost like when you were saying about the trauma that you have, abandonment issues. Sometimes we got some.
She's trying to get you to go to therapy. She's trying to get you to go to therapy. That's what it is.
It ain't
The
it
lady
ain't
who
me.
was dating had
Not me.
abandonment issues.
No, I'm sorry when you talked about the abandonment
Right,
issues.
right. I'm like, I'm good.
But we need to talk about that from both sides because I really believe, and I'm sure it has really affected relationships for so many generations.
Mhm.
But from a mother's standpoint, and even going back to slavery, I used to hear a lot. It wasn't there.
Mhm.
That because what they would do to the males, the moms, because you all older and they're younger, you do this compensation. You try to protect, right? And then even after slavery, what happens when the father is not there? Watch my mother do this. She was because my father got killed. And she was so busy trying to fill that void with stuff.
Right. The guilt.
Absolutely.
Guilt.
And so you find yourself trying to protect that be your baby. Oh my gosh. Right. And women, we that nurture. And then there's no
No masculine energy. Right?
no masculine energy. And we don't know that we messed them up.
And so I would say try to find the balance if you are a single mother, in reference to raising the son. Either find mentors, find the positive coaches, find the young boys group, fraternity and sororities. My son did what is it called, Kappa League, from Kappa Alpha Psi. His father was a part of that. Okay, yum. So and even my sorority, we do things. So find what your child needs to fill in the gap
Right.
because it takes a village. You can't do it by
Absolutely.
yourself,
Yeah, but
and you're never meant to do it by yourself.
Right.
So
Right.
don't be afraid
Right.
to ask for help.
and as strong as a mom as you can be, you can never, ever,
Be a
ever
man.
replace
Man.
what a father means to
That's right. I agree.
especially to that son.
Absolutely.
And Hova,
You know,
I just
you-
want to say, just because you said that, can we please stop the narrative? Because I hate when Father's Day comes around and we
we
see
did-
the post where
Let
the
me tell you.
women are saying, Happy
Let me tell-
Father's Day to me. I understand
We did a
you
show
do
on
what you
that.
need to do as a mother, and we love and support y'all for that. But being a mother is not being a father.
Right.
Absolutely. And when
You-
you think it is, then you don't even find the need to get that for your child.
Because
Shortchanging
understand
them.
you like when we first got together, she would do that. She overcompensated,
Mhm.
and we had issues because I got two boys now that I gotta rear. So I had to be even harder because she was so over the top with being that mother, being protecting it. No, that's not your job now. Your job now is to take care of these girls. I got these boys. I'm gonna show them how to be a man. You gotta allow me to do that, especially when you're that outside parent coming in. If you're with that man, you gotta give them that authority and that autonomy because you thought enough of that man as a man to be with him. So he apparently is a good dude.
Right. Otherwise, why are you with him?
Right.
Why are you with him?
Right.
Exactly.
But you know what? And I'm glad that y'all said that because sometimes we look at the dynamic when you get married of the person being your husband. And sometimes, like, I'm trying to find me a mate. But you ain't thinking about
My baby need a new pappy.
What's
in
a
your
good
30s,
fit for
right.
your children too?
Right.
Right.
Not that it's bad, but you really don't. Because, before you're married, you don't really know what to look for. That's why I like these shows, right? Nobody tells you. You just know what you're feeling. It's kind of good right now. You don't think sometimes that far even down the line of what I need to be looking for.
I definitely did make, I'm not saying I am, or maybe I'm not the exception, but I've often thought about that as far as any woman I date, because I've definitely been attracted to certain women physically. I can see, a woman and think, okay, physically she's attractive, everything else, but I also think to myself, okay, with all that being said, based on her character, her moral compass, I wouldn't want that woman to be my potential daughter's first example of what a woman is.
Woo!
I've said that several times.
No, stop. We need hand clap, goddamn.
I want my hand clap. I don't have abandonment issues. Okay. But
again, though, seriously, because I don't think sometimes people think that far.
Yeah.
So that's something good for men to think about. So say it again. I like the way you look, but that don't necessarily
right. And that's something that came with maturity, because of course I wasn't thinking like this when I was 17, 18,
Right.
when you're in college. But as I got older and I realized, in addition to a wife, I'm thinking, okay, I want my wife to bear my children. So her character, moral compass, whatever the case may be, if we have a daughter, my wife will literally be my daughter's first example of what a woman is and how a woman behaves. If I wouldn't want my daughter to emulate everything you got going on, you don't need to have my daughter.
Ooh!
Same thing. If I'm with a woman and she has my son, she's going to be my son's first example of a mother, a woman. My son is going to look to me as, how do you treat a woman? So I'm not going to say I always, but as I matured, I look at it like, yes, you're an attractive woman, got all the right curves and everything, you this and the third, but anything past just girlfriend, I don't want you, because I don't want a future with you. I don't want to bear children. I don't want you to bear my children, because I already know I wouldn't want my daughter to see you, acting the way you're acting, thinking that's what
you fun, but
you
you
fun.
Know, but you know what? That goes back to some of y'all wondering why he won't commit or he ain't marrying you. It's because I don't want you to.
Boys play with toys. That's what I was
I
told.
love that.
Oh, we do.
Okay.
Boys
There-
play
I
with
mean,
toys.
we do.
But when I really want a wife material, somebody to raise my kids, and if y'all not for my younger people, if y'all not thinking about that, because I know sometimes nobody really told us to look for that. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you don't know what to look for. But this show, we're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all having fun, but don't wind up having a wrong baby mama or the wrong baby daddy.
Because that's 18 years on it once you do.
Oh, more
18 plus, right? So think about who you want to be attached to.
So seriously, again, y'all, have fun.
Use condoms.
Use condoms. Yes.
Choose
wisely.
Use condoms and pull out at the same. You do both. Do both.
This is double safety.
Just double, just to be sure. I'm putting my public health.
That go to therapy.
My background is public health, so use a condom and pull out.
Damn.
That's a public service announcement.
That's a whole nother show,
right? But in
I ain't
addition
gotta
to
do that no more.
right? In addition to that, we ain't doing that no more. Oh, in addition to that, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe to the Relationship Party. And again, tag some folks. If y'all hear something that y'all think y'all can't say to your friend, but y'all think they need to hear, tag them in the show, man. The point is that they get the message. All right, y'all, at the Relationship Party, where it is what it is.
Not what it's supposed to be.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
See ya.